Hello everyone, my name is Michael from Kendo World and welcome to the latest edition of KED Talks. Today we're very lucky to have been joined by Donatella Castelli from Italy. Donatella began Kendo back in 1985 in Bologna, which is where she's from. So she's been practicing Kendo for about 36 years now. She's spent a lot of time practicing Kendo in the many countries that she's lived in, including Italy, obviously, Germany, Japan, and the Netherlands. So, Donatella, welcome to Kendo World.
Happy to be here. I couldn't repeat it enough.
So, I feel that we should address the elephant in the room, and that elephant in the room being that congratulations on Italy's victory in the Euro 2020 final against England. Do you have any comments you'd like to make about that before we move swiftly on?
I really appreciate your congratulations and I'm savoring your pain. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. This will be the first and only time that we mention this. All right, yes. So back in your introduction, I mentioned that you'd started Kendo in Bologna in 1985. What first led you to starting Kendo? I guess let's start at the beginning.
So it has been my love for books and Japan, and I had a book that belonged to my father, and there I found these beautiful images of kenshi, beautiful picture of men wearing a man and of the Nippon Budokan. So I thought that image stayed with me. I always knew that I wanted to practice Kendo. And I was also always interested in Japan and in general Far East culture. And when I started to get closer to Japan arts and practices, let's say through judo. Later, it was practicing zazen with a teacher here. And then I thought that Kendo would have been a perfect, let's say, way to proceed in this direction. And but that was a very brainy way to approach the thing. I think that in the end, I simply liked Kendo. And that was the reason that I practiced for so long. I was just fascinated by the practice and the environment, the people I met. That was really a huge factor. Yeah.
So did you do much traveling around Italy for Kendo, or was there just the one Kendo club in Bologna and you had to go to other places as well?
No, actually, Kendo in Italy started in Milan and Turin, and still they are the two biggest cities Kendo-wise. But of course, there has been a huge spread since I started. But in Bologna, there was one club, and later on, I also practiced in Ravenna. That was also I created my own club in Bologna, so there were two. And then I moved to Milan, and in the end, I also created my own club while I was there. Still there, the club. I'm still a member of that club. And then, of course, I followed every time that I had the possibility to practice in a different city, I would go for it. But at the very beginning of my career, we would travel from Bologna, for example, to Bergamo, which is in any case a couple of hours by car, to practice with a godan. And to us, it was really exciting because that was the level. Wow, a godan. And just by chance, those godan became very, very well-known kenshi in Europe, like Jean-Pierre Rec or Alain de Guitre. So, but for us in those days, that was the only opportunities that we got. And later on in my career, of course, I could move around Europe, especially after I entered the national team. And then I practice every time I had the opportunity when I travel for work. I would bring my bogo with me. I did it even in South America. I was there for work and I would bring my bogo, and I had the opportunity to practice in Brazil. I tried even in Chile, but it was a bit, the circumstances didn't allow me, but I met the people in Chile, and I think that Kendo is a great way to travel and to make friends and to feel welcome wherever you go, in a sense. So you bring your bogu and you're welcome everywhere.
Okay, great. Yeah, I've only had experience of mostly in Japan and just a few times in England, but yeah, I haven't been able to travel around the world as you have. I'm quite jealous about that.
But I must say that, we Kendo people are so strange compared to other, sport people, let's say, that when we meet, it's always a big party. So we have somebody coming from, everybody's always welcome, is always a welcome guest. Mm-hmm. So this, it's a community that you can really count on. At least this was my experience. So you should travel in Europe more often.
Okay. So I noticed from your bio that you gave us that, so you started Kendo in 85 and then you were a member of the Italian team by 1990?
Yeah, 1990. I was like a sort of a spare wheel in 1989, but I was part of the team in 1990. That was Berlin. That was my first championship.
The EKC, I take it in
yes.
Berlin. Okay.
In Berlin, yeah. There was still East Germany at the time. So still existed.
Oh, wow.
The wall had gone down just a short time before. So it was a incredible evolution I saw. Through Kendo, I could live pieces of history, I dare say, of European history. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so how did you find making the transition from, just being a normal dojo member to a member of a national team?
Well, frankly speaking, I didn't find it particularly, let's say, taxing, meaning that I belong to a group of kenshi that refused and still refuse to give too much emphasis to the shiai aspect, meaning that shiai is just a part of practice. So being a member of the national team in those days was, of course, a big honor. I would leave it like that. But it's also, you had to take it as a, let's say, as a duty, and you had to, let's say, do your best within your practice. So I didn't feel that it was a big departure from what I was doing, practicing in my dojo. I took it seriously as I should have. And I didn't feel particularly privileged. Actually, I felt that I had to work harder to deserve the spot. And I've been in there for quite some time, because my last championship was in 2003. And I decided to quit the team because I had to prepare myself for Rokudan. And so I thought it was a good time to say goodbye to everybody. So 13 years in.
You actually competed in Scotland in 2003? Yes,
I did. I was in the ladies team. I got also my fighting spirit for in the team competition.
So that was
we made best 8 actually.
Okay. Oh right, yeah. So that was your final World Champs 2003 then, and then that was actually we spoke to Christian Philippi before, and that was his first one. So I guess that's kind of
when he was one of the
started.
One of the young ones, so to say. For me that was the last, and actually I think I had the opportunity to take part in how many World Championship. I was in, of course, in Scotland. Before that, I was in US. I skipped Kyoto on purpose, and I was in Paris. And I was Paris. Actually, I was in the Goodwill Keiko because there was no ladies championship at the time. There was a Goodwill championship that, by the way, was won by a lady from Japan who was fighting under the flag of Hong Kong. And that was Horibe Sensei. And so there was only the Goodwill Keiko, and the Japanese ladies were not taking part in 1994. And the Japanese ladies instead were part of a demonstration team of 12 ladies who fought against 12 ladies and men from Europe. And I was one of those. I was selected to be one of those.
How was that experience? How was that experience fighting the Japanese in a competitive situation?
Well, it was it was a massive honor to be there. I think it was. I found it interesting and stimulating. Of course, you could feel a bit overwhelmed at the beginning because you think, "Oh my God, the Japanese!" But then you get the feeling that you had an opportunity to do something while you were in there, and of course, we managed to lose in that demonstration team. Everybody lost apart from one who made a hikiwake. But apart from that, it was it was a massive honor because we got the impression also that it was the beginning, finally, of our world championship with a lady individual and a ladies team.
Did it become for ladies? It became an official event in 2003, or was it 2006?
No, it happened. The following things happened. We had Kyoto, Paris in '94, where we had only the demonstration team. Then we had Kyoto in '97, which was disgraceful because the world was divided in good ones and bad ones. There were two divisions made, and that was the reason why I refused to take part. And that was still not official ladies championship. Then it was still semi-official in 2000 when we were in Santa Clara, USA.
It actually resembled a regular tournament in Santa Clara.
Yeah.
But it still wasn't official, I believe.
It was semi-official. Okay. And actually, I have a very clear memory of that because we had the General Assembly of FIK in that situation. And I was, as president of the Italian Federation, I was part of the assembly. And we had to take a vote regarding the semi-official championship. And of course, I was not particularly enthusiastic about the fact that nobody taught me how to fight semi-officially. So in the end, there was a vote, and there was a vote that was meant to be who is in favor of who is against the semi-official tournament, and then we changed. I suggest to change the vote. Who is the other way around? So who is against an official championship? And then in the end, nobody was against. So, and then we had an official championship starting 2003. But before it was a semi-official, and it was a long way to go. And it's not finished yet because we are still expecting to see a world championship with the total equality between men and women's fight. Same duration, with the same possibility of a day of rest between individual and team. So we are not there yet. We were supposed to be there in Paris.
It was supposed to be for this year, wasn't it? It's supposed to be 4 days. But yeah, I remember. I who was it we spoke to before? I think Kazuyo Matsuda. I think it was when I spoke to her before about the difference in the women's competition, where you'd have men's individual on the first day, ladies individual and team on the second day, and then men's team on the third. And that must be a really hard day for if you're competing in both the individuals and the team to do them both at the same. Not just for the competitors, but for the officials as well. It's a long day, but
was what we saw in Incheon. Incheon was very hard also for the referees. How can you expect a referee to? We've been inside the sport hall from 8 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock in the evening, because we had first the individual and then the teams. And of course, when you are in that kind of position, And of course, if you don't have a completely different set of players for the individual and the team, of course, you have people who have to be at top peak form for 12 hours. That is not possible. And maybe they've been training for that for 3 years. So we ladies think that is deeply unfair. So having a world championship spread on 4 days is the only way to go. And there will be a lot of time also for other initiatives like Godo Geiko, go back to the original meaning of the World Championship, that was also meeting people from all over the world and having Keiko with people from all over the world. Not only the strict competition, then sayonara party and then go, so to say.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was supposed to happen 2021 to be spread over 4 days, but obviously that's been cancelled. So hopefully, well, it should still go ahead in 2024. I hope this pandemic doesn't last any longer.
We all hope that, yeah, indeed. 2024 sounds like a good year.
So one of the things I wanted to talk to you about is, I mentioned before that you had spent time in different countries practicing. What actually brought you to Japan in, was it 2008?
13.
2013?
No, 2013.
And you were here for 1 year, is that right? Or 2 years?
Yeah, 1 year, correct. And well, I've been coming to Japan, of course, every year since 2005. I think the first time I was in Japan was 1995. So it was ages ago. And then I had a 10 years break. I was a bit busy with work. And I was back in 2005. And since 2005, I came to Japan every year at least once, till the pandemic, of course. And in 2013, I had this crazy idea. Actually, was the dream of my life to work in Japan. And through some friends, I got news that there could have been a possibility to be employed by a boguya. So, and that was indeed a true possibility. So I went through an interview process. And in September 2013, I started my work at Tosando.
So you were able to get a year break from your current job in order to come over?
No, it was even better than that. My previous contract was over in end of April. So technically, when my previous job, I was supposed to look for another permanent job after that, but that happened exactly before my usual yearly break visit to Japan. And while I was in Japan, I started thinking that it could be real, that I could find a job in Japan before finding another permanent job in Europe. And so there was no need to ask for a break. And it was a great time. Then, of course, when I was back from Japan, I went back to be my usual self, working in IT and being a project manager and so on. But I had this fantastic year at Tosando from September 2013 till September 2014.
So that was based at their main office in Kyoto?
In Kyoto, yes.
So how did you find that then, going from working in Europe to working in Japan? How did you find it?
Well, I always say that I could write a book about it, and I think the experience was extremely surreal at times, and but I really wanted to succeed, and but it was quite a steep learning curve, and sometimes from time to time I even think now that, oh yeah, that was the reason why. So I always said that there's a lot in common between Italy and Japan. And people always look at me strangely and said, because both in Italy and Japan, unwritten rules are way more important than the written ones. And and most rules in Italy, the unwritten rules are there to take away from the written ones, while in Japan, the unwritten rules are there to add to the written ones. So there is much more that you have to take care of when you're there, because it's really, sometimes it's really beyond imagination, because it's truly a different way of thinking. And although I did my best, of course, to be prepared, and I still have a limited knowledge of the language, not zero, but enough to get by. And my job didn't imply working in Japanese, only as limited amount. I had to write to the warehouse, for example, and from time to time I had to answer very short questions. But apart from being there, my job is, saying hello and saying goodbye in Japanese, and being part of the chorei in the morning. My job was mainly in English, because it was an international department position. So I would interact with international customers.
So what were your main responsibilities then? What was a typical working day at Tosano?
Yeah, well, a typical working day would have been to answer emails from customers. Maybe they would have questions about a technical question regarding pieces of equipment, or more, let's say, logistic question like when can I receive this order, or can you replace this piece or whatever. And that was part of the job. So interacting with customers, and that would have been, let's say, the most important thing, because customer service was considered, you couldn't be slow or drop a claim or anything of the kind. And in that we were very strict. And on the other side, I was also, let's say, consulting a bit the company regarding the equipment that maybe in Europe would be considered more interesting, or would be more difficult, for example, also to source. So I also had the opportunity, they gave me the opportunity to have my own web store. So where I could select some items, and I could propose them. I could write a blog with my views about equipment, and that was very much part of the job. And I also have to add that Tosano was very understanding with me. I had to rush to training in a couple of nights of the week. So at 6 o'clock, was it 6 o'clock? I could drop everything 6 sharp, not before, but 6 sharp. I could drop everything and go to training. And I also had the opportunity to go for Asageiko on Friday morning at the prefecture police that was nearby. So that was quite an adventure. Biking there, having 1 hour Jigeko, then biking back, having a shower, go to the office, and start a normal day. But it was exciting. It was fantastic.
How was it training with the police? I think that's something that a lot of us wish that we could do, but don't get the opportunity.
Well, we are not talking about Tokuren. We are talking about a number of members of the police department there. So there were a lot of also guests that were particularly strong. From time to time, we would have examination practice, because a lot of the members were close to 7th Dan or even Hachidan. So it was a very compact practice, like it is in most dojo in Japan. Actually, it was quite a surprise for me, the difference between the way we train in Europe and the way they train in Japan. And only 1 hour, so not much time for Kihon, just very, very short Kihon practice. And then there would be Jigeko or examination practice. And it was great. There are still, I try to go and visit every year. and I still meet the same gentlemen who are there. And I was particularly in a prefecture. I was living in Nishijin, which is in the north part of Kyoto. And the prefecture dojo and the prefecture police dojo were very close. And I would go there very regularly. And I would be taught by Ito Sensei. Ito Sensei is a gentleman that unfortunately cannot practice anymore, a former policeman. And he would come to training impeccably dressed with a tie and a jacket. And he would follow the training. And I was always surprised that he would follow the training, and then I found a bit strange that on Friday morning, when everybody was in a hurry to go to work, nobody would go to him to ask for advice after the practice. And we had a lot of examination practice. And when I asked him, and finally find somebody who could translate my broken Japanese to him, actually, he gave me the single piece of advice that really made me pass my Nanadan. So I will be eternally grateful to him, even if we never practiced together.
So you took your Nanadan while you were living in Kyoto at that time?
No, shortly after. I came back to Italy, and the first opportunity in Europe, I went for Nanadan and I passed.
So you were, congratulations on that, by the way.
Thank you.
So you said you were about a year working in Kyoto. Do you wish it was longer, or was a year enough and time to get back to your main career?
Well, actually, I came back not to my main career, but I came back for more personal reasons, because my mother, unfortunately, was not well. But I would have loved to stay longer, definitely. Maybe another year. I think things would have been even smoother in a sense, because, of course, all the learning curve would have been, let's say, not so steep. It's also true that in the year I was there, we were in a fantastic international department team that I will always remember. And so just to mention my friend Yubo, my friend Sarah, and Sato-san, who was our, what we call them, our fake Japanese, because we love him to bits, really, definitely. And it was a fantastic team. And of course, the team changed later on, and it would have been exactly the same. But I think if I could, and unfortunately I was right to come back, because definitely the health of my mother started to fail, and it was good to be back to Europe. But I would have loved to stay there longer if I could.
I think if you'd have made it to 2 years there, you would probably still be there now. I think that happens to a lot of us. My original plan was, I'll come to Japan for 2 years, and next year will be 20, I think, or the year after will be 20. So
I see.
I think that happens to a lot of us.
Yeah, well, I must say that I still hope that one day I can go back to Kimura Kaicho and Yamamoto-san and ask, would you have an old European lady for another year? And I would be very happy to go there again. But for the time being, I'm busy with my profession here.
Okay, great. So while you were for that 1 year in Kyoto, was that the kind of genesis then that you got the idea for the World Kendo Network, which you started?
Actually, it was earlier than that. I think that what made the difference was the creation of Facebook. Let's put it like that. I say we because Maruyama Sensei, who is my good friend living in Kyoto, he was the one who started World Kendo Network brainstorming. So we met in his home, and there was a number of initial founders of World Kendo Network. And his plan, and this I must say, this is truly his ideal, and he was the one to set the target that we want to become 1 million members of World Kendo Network. And he's truly a pure soul, so in this sense. And I was very happy to help him, at least to enable him to start this, and of course to offer him also all the connection that I could have in Europe or out of Japan in general to create a World Kendo Network. But we truly think that Kendo is a small world, but populated by great people. And I think that World Kendo Network is a way to explore the social part of Kendo. So it's not only about Facebook, it's about using Facebook and possibly meet and practice together. And that is the main purpose. Then, of course, these days, it's we can have a bit of entertainment watching videos of past the championships or past Kyoto Taikai. But the purpose of World Kendo Network is really to connect people and enable them to practice together. And that is also the reason why we organize events, 2 events every year, at least we used to. One event on the 2nd of May in Kyoto. It's a day-long seminar, come friendly shy, come dinner all together. And that happens in Kyoto. And then Maruyama Sensei and I try to pick a different country every year and visit the country to make friends. There is truly no other reason, and practice together and try to propagate the idea of World Kendo Network.
So when was the first, you had the kind of the day-long Gashgu or the day-long meeting in Kyoto. When was the first one of those?
I think that in 2019 we did the 4th. So then it's 18, 17, 16. So 2015.
Okay.
And
so you were actually in Kyoto at that time, working. I guess.
Yeah. No, it was immediately after.
Oh, okay.
So we started before. So there was for some time we started thinking about how World Kendo Network should work and how it should translate into a true movement, so to say. So I think that World Kendo Network existed already when I was there. We founded it maybe the year before, something like that. But then we started organizing an event starting from 2015. And then we started visiting countries. And the last one we visited was Thessaloniki in Greece. Before, there was Ireland in Dublin. We've been in Istanbul. Was the first time that we ventured out. We were in Berlin. So we were trying to organize a number of these events around Europe and meeting as many Kenshi as possible.
So you were supposed to be doing one last year as well. Where was that going to be?
Well, actually, we started thinking about moving somewhere North America, or we were considering Canada, but most of the time what we do, it was really opening up the competition and asking on World Kendo Network who is interested in having a World Kendo Network event. And then we are not, of course, we are not the one to ask, can we come to you? But most of the time we get an offer, would you come and practice with us? And that is what we do. So we were trying to expand. We've been a lot in Europe. We would like to expand a bit more, of course, elsewhere. And in particular, Maruyama Sensei has been traveling every time that he came for the single official event. Then he managed to visit a lot of other countries. That's the luck of Europe. You know, you can be in 4 countries in 1 week if you want to.
Mm-hmm. So what are the kind of big logistical challenges that you face then with getting such a big group of people over to another country?
Well, actually, it's not a big logistical challenge because most of the people we had people moving from country to country, but it's never the 17,000 members of World Kendo Network. Of course, people who are in the region or maybe nearby, they would join, but it's very much like a big seminar or medium-sized tournament. We stress the fact that it's a friendly tournament. We don't have to be too, let's say, too strict with the external referees being invited. We want to keep it as friendly as possible. So it's not really a logistic challenge. The only thing we need is a dojo that is has a larger hall available, and possibly homestays for Maruyama and me, and maybe someone else that is coming from nearby countries. So we try to make it as friendly as possible. We are not in competition with any other, let's say, competitive event or around. So we really truly want to know the people, maybe have getting to know the local food and visiting the biggest attraction of the town, and of course propagating this information on World Kendo Network, just to make people feel that you have friends here and come visit too.
So in the Japanese or the events that you've done in Japan, you also do like kind of cultural activities. I think you've done some singing and
True.
I know Maruyama Sensei's into the tea ceremony. Have you been able to take those type of activities over to
it has been done individually by Maruyama Sensei, who's been very flexible in organizing tea ceremonies. I remember that he did one in Milan. He told me that he did one in Milan without having all his precious equipment, but the spirit was certainly there. It's true that the general idea is that we organized in Japan not only the keiko and the competition. We had violin players or more traditional koto players, or we had traditional dances, and we definitely that was the art part. We had also had opera singing actually, and plus we give other martial art group the opportunity to present their martial arts. So it happened several times that we had a demonstration before we started with the, let's say, the more active part of the event.
What were the other martial arts that have been introduced? What are the other?
Well, jukendo, tankendo, for example. Of course, with you know very well who is the absolute authority in those, and we had in this moment I have to remember the name, but there's a specific martial art that is fought with extremely long spears. And that is a logistic challenge because it's a specific martial art that is linked to a Shinto temple, and there are very few practitioners of that specific martial art. And the interesting part is that the very, very long spear has got a sort of a cross shape at the very top, and with very short arms of this cross, and then there are different ways of using this this device to disarm the opponent who is also using a spear. So
I've seen that demonstrated at the International Budo seminar that used to be held in Chiba every March. It's a type of sojutsu. But I can't remember the actual yuha that
Me neither. But yeah, it is. I can provide you exactly the very long name, and but that has been one of the various opportunity we had. So there has been also some kind of social part. We are very keen on have everybody introducing themselves, even if sometimes it becomes a very huge event. We try to have everybody at least telling their name and where they come from, because it's really important that people understand the breadth and width of Kendo and in Japan, but also out of Japan.
Yeah, we haven't obviously been able to do it this year or last year, but the Kendo World Keikokai we've started doing. We've done 9, I think it is, or 8 so far, sorry. And then the 9th one was supposed to be last year. But for that, it's mostly...
I think I was in the last one where Inoue Sensei was.
That's right. You came to that with Mariyama Sensei. I believe, talking about Inoue Sensei, he had pretty much retired from any kendo activity at the time, but then I believe it was Alex hadn't actually invited him because he'd heard that he was kind of retired, but then he found out, or it got mentioned, and he's like, I'm coming, and I think that was the last one that he did, and he passed away not too long after that, I think, which was very sad. But he
that was very sad.
Yeah, he's very well known to a lot of the other members of Kendo.
I must say that he offered in those seminar a very nice explanation or interpretation of the first 3 Kendo no Kata, and I often mention that when I teach. And it has been quite an unforgettable seminar. So I think that this kind of initiative where you can mingle and meet both Japanese and Kenshi from out of Japan are really invaluable. And the quantity of information that you can get is just astounding. And the experience in general is also under the human point of view. It's really, really rewarding.
So we actually started for that reason, so that more people from around the world could come to the Kendo World one, is that we started arranging it for the day after Kitamoto seminar had finished. Then we would have our Kendo World one. So for those people that weren't sick of 10 days brutal heat in Saitama, then they would come to that as well. Actually, we've just had a couple of comments in the chat about the type of sojutsu. Maybe Hozoin Ryu or Owari Kanryu, maybe. But I think
could it be Hozoin
is the one that uses the kind of tube that you hold on to, and the spear slides through the tube. The idea being that you don't get splinters in your hand.
No,
one is.
I would exclude that one. But I think it's
Hozoin, I think, as one of our.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay, so far we've spoken about, you've had kind of many different roles within Kendo. You've been the national team member. You've started your own dojos, and then done World Kendo Network, and worked in a bogu shop in Kyoto. But you've also had more official type roles. Maybe not so exciting as being a national team member or organizing these great cultural exchange events, but you're also a treasurer of the European Kendo Federation and an auditor of the International Kendo Federation. So what exactly does the work of an auditor? I think everyone would understand what a treasurer does, looking after what's it in Italy would be the euros, I guess.
What would be euros, most of it.
What about the auditor of the International Kendo Federation? What type of responsibilities do you have for that?
Well, the main responsibility is to have a formal check on the balance sheet of the International Kendo Federation once a year. So what we are provided, because we are two auditors. We are provided with let's say once a year with all the expenses and incomes of the International Kendo Federation, all the complete report. And our job is very much to check that is consistent and it's sound, that are reserves built and so on. And so that is mainly our job, and which, as you were saying, is not exciting per se, but it gives a good idea of the inner workings of the International Kendo Federation, which is, of course, our polar North Pole star for everybody. So we understand how it works, what are the expenses for, and we can appreciate the amount of effort that is spent for officials to travel the world and attend seminars and so on, because most of the expenses are related to that or to the organization of world championship or seminars. So what we do, we simply go through the list and we appreciate if the expenses are consistent with.
Donatella, I think we've just lost Donatella for a second there. Hello?
So not exciting, but it gives you an idea.
Okay. So when you get approached to be an auditor, do you have, is it like for a set, say, a 3-year term from one world champs to the next one, or just for as long as you want to?
Just to be on the technical side, since I am an auditor also because I am the treasurer of the European Kendo Federation, and as such, I have a term that lasts 4 years. So every 4 years, at least on the side of the European auditor, there would be a change of the guard, so to say. I am in my second my second mandate for the European Kendo Federation. So also as auditor, I will be doing this job for some years still. Yeah, I guess.
I guess things are kind of quite quiet at the moment with that work, because obviously there's been no world championships this year.
Yeah. Well, it's quite, I must say, in terms of being an auditor, is quiet most of the time, because the auditor is very much simply checking to give the go-ahead before the General Assembly. I can say that it's very quiet also as a European treasurer, because of course there's been a lot of events that unfortunately had to be cancelled, and the last event that we managed to organize was in February 2020. So that was the European zone.
The referee seminar.
Referee seminar, yeah.
Oh, and that would have been in preparation then, I guess, for the European Championships that was supposed to be.
Yeah, the European Championship and actually World Championship, because, the European zone referee seminar selects the referees for the European Championship, but also is the same function for the World Championship. So what happened in the last referee seminar, we also had a list of World Championship viable referees to be further selected later on. But unfortunately, nothing of this happened. But luckily, we are, as a European Federation, we are counting on starting again soon our activities if the vaccination, let's say, rally goes on. And of course, the situation is different from country to country. And as you can see, it's also different month from month. Mm-hmm. But if everything is reasonably safe, because safe is the most important thing, we are actually open the pre-entry for the European iaido Championship to take place in Serbia later this year. And also we started the organization of the European Kendo Championship for next year in Germany. So we think that things are reasonably opening up, but still some way to go. So it's not business as usual yet.
Okay. Well, we're coming almost to an hour, and I know that you've got to get back to work. Donatella's actually kindly taken a bit of time out of her working day. It's a 10 p.m. start where I am and a 3 p.m. start where she is. But we've just had one question from one of our patrons came in. You mentioned just a few minutes ago about you enjoyed the explanation of the first 3 kata that Inoue Sensei gave. One of our patrons is just wondering if you could share anything about the explanation of those first 3 kata.
Yeah, I will be very brief, but what Inoue Sensei said was that there was a sort of a evolution from the first till the 3rd kata, meaning that in the first kata, you see a duel between 2 men, and one of the 2 dies. It's mortally wounded over the head. And but in the 2nd kata, you see that it's not necessarily death that we are talking about. We are severely incapacitating the opponent by cutting his wrist. And he said that to him, this was an evolution from what was the kenjutsu spirit to the kendo spirit, because in the 3rd kata, in truth, nobody gets either hurt or killed. And the 2 kenshi are free to go and live their lives after the end of the duel. And I found this explanation very touching. And in fact, it's really true that kata are not graded by difficulty, and not even by, let's say, severity of the damage that you cause to your opponent. But actually, in the first 3, it's the other way around. And it's truly the evolution from kenjutsu to kendo, from the sword that gives death to the sword that gives life. And I really appreciated that explanation. And I always repeat it to my students.
Yeah, that's a great lesson. Yeah. And we're actually hoping at some point to get his book, Kendo Kata, Essence and Application. That it's obviously it's not in print at the moment, but that's something that we've published in the past, and we're hoping amongst many of our other projects that we've got going to get that going again, because we often have inquiries about, there's probably secondhand versions of it that you can pick up now and again, but yeah, we need to get that one out as well. So, okay. Well, thank you very much to our patrons for listening in, and hope you've enjoyed it, and hope we've been able to answer all your questions. Donatella, thank you so much for taking an hour out of your, I'm sure, very busy work day to speak to us. And
it was a pleasure. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure to talk to you again, and hopefully before too long we'll get to see you at the Kendo World Keikokai in Japan again, or at Kyoto in the Kyoto Taikai, which you take.
I really look forward.
You take part in the Kyoto Taikai every
time? I've been already more than 10 times in the Kyoto Taikai. Not a lot of European ladies. I hope that there will be a bit more. Actually, I've been the only one so far. So at least for the Kendo part, I really hope that there will be more coming. And looking forward to be there again very soon.
And hopefully the next time you take part in Kyoto, you'll make it onto Japanese TV again, which I think you did last.
Oh, yeah.
And they interviewed your opponent as well, I believe.
That's true. It's true. That was a very nice interview, very nice moment. But the Kyoto Taikai is a moment of pure joy for 3 days. You get drunk out of it, drunk out of Kendo and of joy, and possibly also the beers in the evening. And but it's really an experience that I look forward to repeat again. So maybe meet you there.
Yeah, hopefully things will get back to normal at the earliest next year. If
hopefully, yes. Yeah, get vaccinated if you can.
Yeah, mine's not for another month at work, so I've still got a little bit of time to wait. But yeah, hopefully that'll all be done and dusted this time next year. Donatella, once again, thank you very much for joining us for this talk. It's been great hearing about your Kendo experiences and your different jobs within Kendo. Thank you again to all our patrons for listening in and giving questions, and also for your support of Kendo World. We'll come back to you with another KED talk sometime in August, I hope. So I hope you can join us for that. There should be a video of this talk coming up onto YouTube before too long. So once again, Donatella, thank you. And to our patrons, thank you very much for your support of Kendo World. All the best.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.